As far as parents go, there are also series or stages they go through when raising their children. This is also the case when deciding to teach your children at home. The first stage is to naturally assume school is the answer to their children's educational needs. Parents will usually initially go this route, and most will stay there. Those who either learn through experience or otherwise determine that the home is the best place to be raising, training, and teaching children will usually bring a lot of the school's thinking home with them at first. This is the homeschooling stage, a place that's actually full of confusion and associated fears, as it is often a hybrid between what God has ordained and what government directs. The homeschooling stage eventually gives way to home education as parents realize their God-given authority, get comfortable with having the children at home, and take greater control over what will be done respecting the education of their children. Most parents are comfortable within the home education stage and stay there throughout their children's formal education. At this stage, the program usually fits a child, even if employing at least some notions of school. There is nothing wrong with this. But some of the more daring, or should I say faithful, will eventually come to be free of all school thinking and become unschoolers. The best way to define this stage or process is that it simply is not doing or playing school in any way. Those who make this stage generally have a greater trust in God and less confidence in man. You may want to see what Psalm 118 verse 8 has to say about that. I'll be discussing this approach to home education in more detail a bit later. As parents transition from one stage to another, there is a greater sense of freedom as they make the program fit the child rather than have the child fit the program. As you no doubt know, working with children has always been better than fighting with them. So finding what works for them is definitely a better idea. As the children grow, they become more and more independent. In the end, they do as you had planned from the start and what you knew would eventually happen. They leave home and start a life of their own. In a home education, parents have the privilege of growing with the children as they grow together as a family. Without diminishing the importance of having a good education, one must understand that relationships are of far greater value. Keeping and teaching all the children at home is the best way to develop the most important of these relationships, which are starting with our relationship with God and then with each other as family. Friends may come and go, but family should stay and stick together forever. Now, while home education may go through a few stages or phases, it actually follows the transitions in parenting, which also has stages in keeping with the children growing older. When babies, for instance, children need to be nurtured and protected. Training starts soon after birth, potty training for an example, and is essentially completed by puberty. In fact, a very experienced older neighbor told us when we first had our babies that if the children are not properly trained by age 5, it is too late. And there will be lots of issues to deal with as they grow older. I believe that was very wise counsel. Once a child reaches puberty, more teaching and less training takes place. However, once a child or the student begins to take responsibility for their own education, parents will find their role changing from that of being a teacher to being a mentor or a guide. In this new role, it's long-lasting, continuing until the child reaches their 30s or 40s, at which time the parents are old enough to be appreciated as sages, and the children are old enough to finally appreciate what the parents were saying all along. Whether students or parents, everybody grows older and supposedly wiser. While each generation is responsible for helping the next, each new generation seems to be faced with the problems the former generation has not experienced. Although there can be what appears to be stages in growth and learning, the fact is most things are simply continually changing, and we transition from one level or stage or phase to another as we learn and apply our newfound knowledge. And I don't believe this process ever ends.